Most of the women I talk with about getting 100% consistent doing the things they wish they would consistently do because they know they'll put more years lived in good health in their future are on kind of a roller coaster ride of feeling successful and smart and committed and feeling discouraged, ashamed, and defeated. If you're ready to exit that carnival ride and build the physiologic future you want from a more grounded and steady place, one that's way more effective and way more satisfying, then today's episode is for you. You're listening to the Health Coach Collective podcast, episode 197. Get off the success roller coaster and be more consistent. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode. I'm so happy to be here with you today. How has it been going this past week, knowing exactly what to eat? Pretty freeing, right? I know what it's like to be so tempted to believe that other people know better than you what you should eat, but not anymore. Now you can confidently relax into your supreme authority over what works for you and ignore all the nonsense being constantly shouted in your direction. So nice. Today, we're going to talk about getting off the success roller coaster and staying more stable and grounded. It's less thrilling than an amusement park, but way more sustainable, effective, and I think enjoyable and quiet. Do you like amusement parks? I guess there's a time and a place for everything, but I'd much rather live 99.9% of my life in a remote, peaceful forest with no parking lot, no corn dogs, no janky music, and no chance of sitting in gum. Okay, so let's start out by briefly talking about bones. I hope that yours are strong. You need strong bones to age at an elite level. This will tie back into consistent success, I promise. So even though it seems like it, your bones are never staying the same. You don't just increase the length of your bones until you become your full adult height, and then that's the end. If it were, we wouldn't have to worry about impending osteoporosis. We all have osteoclasts that are constantly breaking down our bones and making them weaker, and osteoblasts that are constantly building up our bones and making them stronger. This bone remodeling process is always going on. It's the only way to have a healthy skeleton. If we have a little bit more osteoclast activity than osteoblast activity, we lose some bone density and strength over time. If we have too much more osteoblast activity, we can get deformed bones like with Paget's disease. But when we're at an optimal bone density, that remodeling balance is just right. If we have low bone density, we want to shift the balance slightly toward osteoblast buildup until we get to the optimal bone density. And it's important to know the aspects of aging that tend to shift you toward osteoclast dominance so that you can counteract those forces and have strong bones as you age. If you'd rather hear about bone density, go back and listen to episode 127, 3 Ways to Mind Your Bone Density. Calcium is somewhat low on the list of things that matter. Anyhow, as solid as they are, the bones provide the literal structure to our body. Our bones are never fully formed, and it's never over. They're in a constant state of formation and reformation, and we have to provide them with the mechanical stress, hormones, and nutrients that they require in order to stay strong. You've probably heard that the so-called science that says it takes 21 days to form a habit is BS, because it is. That was an oft-repeated lie, but do you know what the real science says about how long it takes to form a habit? It takes as long as it takes. That's the real answer. It totally reminds me of this Nate Bargatze comedy special I was watching with my kids a while ago. My middle son had left the room to go to the bathroom or feed his gecko or whatever he was doing, and Nate was saying, I have no idea how long it takes to microwave anything. I have to ask my wife every time, like her family invented the microwave or something. How long do I microwave this for? And she's like, do it till it's hot. But I'm like, I know you know a number. Just say the number. So funny. We were all immediately like, that's Quinn. He always asks how long to microwave things for. He wasn't there to defend himself, but it is true. So this feels like that to me. I know you know a number. It's not 21 days. One study from researchers at University College London followed 100 people trying to establish a new habit. Any habit from trying to incorporate a new food into their daily diet to following a long-distance running plan. The study showed that it took participants between 17 and 105 days to establish their new habit to a 95% level of consistency. So there's your number, between 17 and 105 days. The factors that affect how long it took to establish were how much time they spent working at the new habit, what the habit was, and how different the new habit was from the regular one. That makes sense, right? Of course, establishing the habit of putting your watch on the other wrist would not take the same amount of time as establishing the habit of only eating food you personally raised, grew, or killed yourself if you had never gardened, hunted, ranched, or farmed before. Way more important than that number, though, is really getting the fact that just like our bones, our habits are never just established. Almost everything we do during our day is habitual, which is awesome because it saves us a ton of brain power. Our habits form the structure of our lives. We are formed in the shape of our daily habits, and habits can be incredibly strong. But they're never just formed and it's over. They're in a continual state of formation, of remodeling, if you will. Our habits get a little stronger or a little weaker every single day, depending on whether we're reinforcing them or undermining them, for better or worse. Sometimes we reinforce bad habits by undermining good habits. Sometimes we reinforce good habits and undermine bad habits. But they're always in a state of flux. In their awesome book, Organized Tomorrow Today, Jason Selk and Tom Bartaw give us what they call their roadmap to the terrain of habit formation, so that we have a guide to help us know what to expect along our path to that grounded state of serene consistency. For me, that place feels like a forest in the mountains. Maybe for you, it's the beach or the jungle or the spa or something. Okay, so they say that the first step is understanding that there are 3 phases of habit formation. The first phase is the honeymoon. The second phase is the fight through. And the third phase is second nature. Even though our habits are constantly being built up and broken down by our everyday actions, once we're in the second nature phase, we hardly have to spend any energy at all on reinforcing our habit. It's just what we do. It's part of who we are. It's kind of magical. Meta-magical if we enjoy it and do it because we genuinely love it, and loving it is just part of who we are. That's my goal as your coach, is to help you find a way to fall in love with the things that are best for you so that the things you most enjoy and the things that will put more years lived in good health in your future become the same. I know there's a way. Send me a message at healthcouragecollective@gmail.com if you want some support making that a reality. So back to the phases of habit formation, just knowing what they are and being able to remind yourself where you are in your journey is so helpful and a great antidote to blaming yourself when things feel hard. The honeymoon phase is kind of obvious. You're fired up about your new way of being in the world, and it might even feel easy. You might even get ahead on your plan and feel like you're just crushing it. Maybe you're replacing drinking daily soda with water and you're killing it. Instead of replacing half your soda with water as you initially planned, you replaced it all. You're a force to be reckoned with. You're at the top of the roller coaster, and it's pretty fun up there. The honeymoon phase lasts as long as it lasts. Maybe 3 days, maybe 3 hours, maybe 30 days. Then eventually an obstacle arises and you're faced with some version of the question, will I take the easy, familiar route and allow the momentum of all the years of my previous ways of being to carry me back to normal? Or will I fight for my new identity? That's when you enter phase 2. Phase 2 is awesome, and I love Jason Selk and Tom Bartaw for describing it so well in their book. I think the main tool you have for making it through phase 2 is knowing that there's a phase 2 and that you're in it. It really helps. Phase 2, what they call the fight through, is when I can do this turns into, this is harder than I thought, or will it really matter if I miss one day? That one resonates with me. How about you? Will it really matter? It's just one day without exercising, or it's just one bagel. Will not getting enough protein for one day really matter? Will staying up late for one single night really matter? This is why the answer is yes, because this is your moment. This is your fight through. Phase 2 is the difference between excellence and ho-hummery. The fight through is everything. Getting what you want depends on how you respond to your fight throughs. And there's a proven way to make your future fight throughs harder or easier. And it's up to you. Pretty great, right? You control how hard each of your subsequent fight throughs are going to be. Once you make it through your first fight throughs, you get to phase 3, where doing what you know is best is second nature and doesn't take any mental energy. As you may have guessed, the fight in your fight through is with yourself. Or if it feels better, with the momentum that you have created via your past actions. I like to think of it like walking through a meadow, and there's a very clear, established path that I have created over the past 45 years. It's so much easier, second nature if you will, to take that path. But the fight through is having to bushwhack a new path, and it's a struggle. Sometimes I even forget that that's what I'm doing, and I find myself back on my familiar old path without even realizing I was falling back into an old pattern. The fight throughs are real, and they can be really hard, but they're also where the magic is. In the book, Organize Tomorrow Today, Jason and Tom suggest 4 ways to help you win your fight throughs. Again, technique number 1 is just realizing that you're in a fight through. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or that you're destined to fail. Fight throughs are part of the deal. You'll rationalize that soda today instead of water is fine because you drank extra water for the past 3 days. You'll rationalize that skipping your run today is okay because you never really thought through ahead of time what you'd do if it was raining on a running day. You'll rationalize that deviating from your nutritional protocol is okay just today because it's only Sharon at work's birthday once a year. You'll rationalize that it's okay to stay up 40 minutes late because you have to find out what happens to the 26-year-old mathematician who solved the secret to unlocking every digital lock in the world. Have you seen that show, Prime Target? I liked it. Just the realization that, oh, I have now entered a fight through is so helpful. That's tool number 1. The book describes it as the ability to take off the blindfold before the fight starts. I love that because you don't have to beat yourself up for all of the fight throughs you've lost in the past 40 years. You were fighting with a blindfold on, and that wasn't fair. Now the blindfold is off and the gloves are on and you're ready to rumble. Knowing you're in a fight through and the reasons you have to win this fight helps you persevere even when it's so easy to negotiate your way out of having to do what you don't want to do. I can pretty easily convince myself that skipping my most important task of the day is justified because I have so many other important things that need doing. But when I realize that actually this is a fight through, it helps so much. The next tip is to plan ahead for fight throughs by ritualizing your new habit. Schedule the new thing you're going to do at the same time each day so you never have to think about doing it or remind yourself to do it. Know ahead of time when, where, and how you will do it. The more you can remove any in-the-moment thinking, the better. Aim to make whatever you're doing as similar to brushing your teeth as possible. You don't have to think about brushing your teeth or decide when you're going to fit it into your schedule or where to brush your teeth or second guess whether you've done a good enough job at brushing them. It's a mindless ritual that serves you very well. I find that for me, the more boring I can make my life, the easier and more enjoyable I find it to be. This could be because I'm an inherently boring person, but I never even think about whether I'm going to go to the gym or what I'm going to do once I get there because I do the same thing every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. It requires no decision making, and that serves me really well. How could you ritualize what you're working on? Same time of day, same place in your house or office, before or after something you already do, like clockwork. Ritualizing saves a lot of energy in your fight-through battles. Hey, I wanted to briefly interrupt to ask if you're curious about female bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, the kind that's usually started around the time of perimenopause. What it is, what it does, how it works, what it's like. If so, you should check out my Udemy course called The Basics of Female Bioidentical Hormone Replacement Therapy. The course goes over the pros and cons of using hormone treatment, which hormones are usually included with BHRT, how they're used, the lab tests that are used, some tips for finding a prescriber in pharmacy to work with, and how to develop a rough estimate of how much BHRT will cost you. If you've been wondering whether bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is right for you, it's time to close that open loop, stop wondering, and move forward with confidence. Enroll in my course today. As a listener of the podcast, you can get a special discount for the very best price. It's a no-brainer. I would just tell you the coupon code, but Udemy makes me change it every month. So check the show notes or go to www.healthcouragecollective.com/Udemy to find the special podcast listener discount code that's only for awesome people like you. Okay, back to the episode. The third tip is to ask yourself 2 questions. So you recognize that you're in a fight through, the blindfold is off now, but you still really want to go back to the easy, familiar path through the meadow. Here are the 2 questions. 1, how will I feel if I win this fight through? Name the emotion and connect with that emotion. Proud, relieved, elated, strong, fierce. What is it for you? And why does it matter? I'll feel wise because I'm acting in alignment with my best self. I'm actually doing what I say matters to me. Then the second question is, how will I feel if I lose this fight through? Name the emotion and connect with it. Disappointed, deflated, ashamed, hopeless. And why does it matter? I'll feel frustrated because what I care about and what I actually do don't match. I'm making my future worse rather than better. Something Phil Stutz teaches that I like is to feel the intense desire you have to do the thing that's not good for you. Maybe it's making a snarky comment or eating a high-carb, low-protein meal instead of what you plan to eat, and the huge disappointment you'll have by not being able to do it. Amplify your disappointment till it feels huge. This person will get away with being a jerk and not even know how witty I am. Or my lunch will be another joyless and drab part of my day. Feel how much you want that instant gratification right now. Phil calls the desire for instant gratification being in the lower channel and says that the lower channel is our roadblock to future motion in our lives because it puts us in a state of having lost our sense of the future. All we care about is right now, and without the future, life is meaningless. Being in the lower channel is believing that we can use something outside of us to fill the inner void that we all have, filling an infinite hole with a finite pleasurable experience. It's perfectly normal for us to all believe we don't deserve to feel deprived, but actually giving into your impulse makes the inner void worse. What we think is a reward is actually a punishment. Real satisfaction only comes through connecting with higher forces or operating from the higher channel. So what he teaches is to find a reward in depriving yourself. Feel the pain of the instant gratification thing you want, being a jerk or damaging a relationship by making a snarky comment, or not gaining muscle mass or having higher than desired blood glucose levels from eating a high-carb, low-protein meal. The lower channel always leads to pain. Phil is into visualizing specific things as tools, so he suggests feeling the pain, literally closing down the lower channel and passionately calling out for help from invisible guides. Envision guides or helpers or angels or however you think of them helping you to be of service to the world instead of giving into your impulse. Phil says that we're an addicted society and immediate gratification is our religion. What do you think? Whether you envision a literal roadblock to the lower channel and having guides help you be of better service to the world, or you just ask yourself how you'll feel if you win your fight through and how you'll feel if you lose it, realizing that there's a bigger meaning to this tiny choice helps tip the odds in favor of you winning your fight throughs. The last tip for winning your fight throughs is to take 30 seconds and think in great detail about where you think your life will be 5 years from now if you're able to win this and future fight throughs. Be totally honest and let yourself really feel the positives. What advantages will you give yourself? How will things be different? Then do the same thing for losing your fight throughs. What will your future be like in 5 years if you lose these fight throughs and go back to how things used to be? Picture all the details. This reminds you of why winning this seemingly insignificant fight through matters. It's about more than just this one day or hour or minute. Fight throughs. What do you think? I think it's so helpful. Next time you're waffling about whether to do something you know deep down will make your life better, but you don't really want to have to do, Remember to remind yourself this is a fight through. It doesn't mean anything has gone wrong. Fight throughs are just phase 2 of every habit establishment pattern. And if it feels hard, did you remember that there's a secret weapon you can use to make your future fight throughs easier or harder, depending on how you use it? The way to make your next fight through easier is to win this fight through today. Then tomorrow, it will be a little bit less hard. And a little bit less hard after that until you get to phase 3, and it's not even hard at all. Each win makes the next win easier. Conversely, losing a fight through today makes winning harder tomorrow. Momentum works both ways. Author and leadership expert Robin Sharma says that the definition of greatness is consistency on the fundamentals. So success isn't about being brilliant or extreme or even super tough and gritty. It's about consistently winning fight-throughs in areas that actually matter to you. Eventually, greatness will just be who you naturally are. There's more to say about this, and when we work together, we'll set you up for success by making your goal a process goal and not an outcome goal, and establishing personal floors and ceilings so that what you have to do to win is something you can still do on your worst day. And imagine all the obstacle scenarios. But for today, let's move on. The third phase of habit creation is the second nature phase. This phase is great. This is where you already are with brushing your teeth, putting on your seatbelt, washing your dirty underwear, and the other life-improving habits that you already have. The second nature phase is great and it feels good, but it can have a few traps. In the book, Organize Tomorrow Today, they describe what they call the discouragement monster. Sometimes you get to phase 3 and you work hard and win your fight throughs and still don't see the results that you want. Scoring often comes in spurts, so don't let discouragement at not seeing the results you want right away tempt you to slip out of phase 3. Stay in the game. The second pitfall is disruption. You're humming along in phase 3, meditating at the same time in the same place every day and not having to give it much thought. Then a disruption comes along and it disrupts your jive. You go on vacation, you get sick for a while, you have an emergency cleanup situation, whatever it is. Then you have to get back into the rhythm. Watch for disruptors and get back on track ASAP. Lastly, the most dangerous trap to phase 3 is what they call the seduction of success. This is when the things you're doing work so well that you stop doing them. It seems silly, but it happens all the time. You finally have success in the area that you've been working out for so long that you think you've got it figured out and you start slacking off. You might even still get decent results for a while, so you think you're special and you don't have to work as hard to produce the same results anymore. But this is buying a ticket for another ride on the success roller coaster. There's a story from some famous sports star in the book. I think it was the NFL, but I can't remember for sure. He had a great rookie year and then he got fired the next year. When asked why, he said, "The things I did early in my career worked so well that I stopped doing them." Ridiculous, but common. Anytime you start justifying to yourself why you don't have to do your process, you know you're backsliding into the seduction zone. The antidote they give for this in the book is awesome. They say that as soon as you have the thought that you might skip today, you prevent backsliding by committing to do 10% more that day. So one day, if you're tempted to skip logging your food that day, become 10% more committed to writing everything down. Whatever that means to you, writing it all down before you eat it instead of during or after, or actually weighing your food instead of just guessing, something, 10% more. Instead of skipping your mobility exercises, do them for 10% longer. Maybe you usually do 5 minutes, so now you do 5 minutes and 30 seconds of mobility work. It's not a huge sacrifice, but it's a huge deal because it's a reminder to yourself that you're mentally strong and that you're different than mediocre people. When normal people experience success, they usually respond by doing a little bit less. Since you're not normal, you stay totally committed to what created the success in the first place. And if you do backslide, no problem, you just go back to stage 2 and work through your fight-throughs again. You're an expert at that by now. I love the concept of fight-throughs, so I hope that they're helpful to you when you're tempted, as we all are, to not do the thing that will move your life forward. And I think it's so good to remember that our habits are not just formed and then done. They're in a constant state of ossification and osteolysis, getting stronger or getting weaker. You don't work your butt off lifting heavy stuff to create stellar bone density and then just sit around on the couch for the rest of your life and expect it to stay that way. And you can't get lazy about doing the things that create your health span success either. But you can put those things on autopilot and genuinely love doing them so that it's no longer a constant struggle between who you wish you were and who you're actually being. I can help you with that. Send me a message at healthcouragecollective@gmail.com if you want some accountability or a new perspective. All of this goal achievement stuff isn't really about what you can accomplish or brag about or show off or even pat yourself on the back about. It's about who you become and what you can prove to yourself about who you really are. And what could be better than winning some fight-throughs to prove to yourself that you're the type of person who's mentally strong enough to create an incredible future for yourself where you don't have to be like everyone else and slowly stop living before you die. Thank you for being here today. I selfishly want my kids and future grandkids to live in a world where you are still thriving and making waves 40 years from now. So thanks for caring about your future. Next week, we're going to talk about how to not get the 3 scariest diseases of aging. Until then, get off the success roller coaster, make your lows higher and your highs last longer, and don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.